political analyst, Democratic strategist, pollster, and founder of Brilliant Corners Research. Cornell, it's awfully good to see you. So lots to get to here, because we also saw a few policy reversals. So did Democrats gain any ground from Trump's shaky week?
Well, I think that's a good question, Alex. And I think it's too early to tell. What I think you can tell is that Trump and Republicans aren't gaining any ground. I mean, look, if you look at the numbers in the polling that's coming out right now, something remarkable is happening. Is once upon a time the economy was Trump's strong suit, and now his approval on the economy is underwater. When you look at the number of Americans who are now saying that the cost of living is going in the wrong direction is 64%. Consumer confidence, as you know, is dropping. And earlier this week, I think Bloomberg had a report about how economists were slashing growth expectations, and there's real talk of the probability of recession growing again, coming about in this country. So from an economic standpoint, it's hard to see on the key thing that I would argue that the key thing was cultural wars he pounded home. But certainly the thing that the talking heads talked most about was the economy and how he was going to fix the economy. And Americans are souring on that idea, and that's not at all helpful to Trump or House Republicans.
I have a couple numbers to go through here, too, because there's a new poll taken in the 2 days before Trump's address to Congress, and it shows 54% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the cost of living, 51% disapprove of Trump's handling of the international trade, and 70% disagree with his rhetoric that Ukraine is more to blame for starting the war. So, big picture altogether, how are you interpreting these numbers, Cornell?
Well, listen, Alex, let's put on our campaign hat, right? And so for campaigns, if you're talking about 8 or 9 things, Alex, you're not talking about anything, right? Voters doesn't work that way. The problem is, for any other president, 1 or 2 of these things would be a major problem. And so what Democrats really got to figure out is, what do they need to hone in on and drive that one message? Because quite frankly, I mean, and as you know, and you've reported on it, that their strategy is to fill the box, right? To overwhelm us with too many things. I think Democrats have to figure out the 1 or 2 things that they're going to be consistent on and go after. And I think the idea that on the economy, look, I think you can make the idea that this has been one of the most disastrous economic starts of any president, right? With the stock market in free fall and consumer confidence in free fall, and the Wall Street Journal's opinion page coming out against Donald Trump, calling what he's doing with terrorists dumb. I think if Democrats hone in on this economics message and undermine Republicans and Trump on the thing that they've held very strongly towards is the economy, I think they'll go a long way in better positioning themselves for the midterms.
Let me just say, the Wall Street Journal opinion page, I'm going to take it a step further. They said it was the dumbest trade war in history. That's what they said. So let's talk about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who points out that Trump avoided mentioning Medicaid during the address. And after promising to protect it, he endorsed a budget that will slash Medicaid funding. And here's some of what AOC told her 9 million Instagram followers. Here it is.
Don't you find it interesting that he did not mention Medicaid once? This is a massive political vulnerability. We're going to take all of this out of Medicaid, and then we're going to move it over here, give this much to billionaires. They are afraid of this. I'm telling you, if they weren't afraid of it, they would continue to be hosting their town halls. If they weren't afraid of it, Trump would have said something.
What's your assessment of AOC's response there?
I think what she's laying out is what you're going to see a lot of advertising built around in the midterms, right? This is going to be something that tests really well and upsets the average American, right? That you're taking away from Americans who've paid it, vulnerable Americans, for tax cuts to the rich. The ad writes itself, right? And I got a feeling that going into the midterm and actually going into the off-year elections as well, paying for massive tax breaks and Elon Musk has become the face of this for Trump. But again, great. The rich and powerful man in the world, the idea that the government is working for them and they're working the government and the government's not working for you. There's a air and culture of corruption about this that I think every American will understand. And I got a feeling you'll see a lot of advertising in that space, but also that's connecting also to the economy and how you're looking out for working class Americans.
You heard AOC there mention town halls, and she has also urged Democrats to host more town halls after Mike Johnson encouraged Republican lawmakers to skip them altogether to avoid the Republican protests that we've seen. Would this be effective for Democrats? Would it send the kind of message to constituents of all stripes, right? It doesn't matter what party. Like, we're going to come here and listen to you, hear what you have to say. Do you think Democrats should be doing that?
Well, first, let me say something that I heard. I've heard Republicans say a couple of times is this idea that all this town hall anger and is being orchestrated and conducted by Democrats and organized by Democrats. Let me assure you something. Democrats are not paying for it, organizing anything. This is grassroots. This is people hearing and feeling that pain. And look, I'm from Virginia, and look, those federal workers losing their livelihood, and those veterans who are part of the federal government losing their livelihoods. Democrats don't have to organize those people to be upset about what's happening. I do think it is smart for Democrats to, in fact, hold town halls. It's always smart to listen to the constituents. And one of the things we always hear in focus groups is that no one listens to us. It's always a good idea to listen to the constituency, but also I think it's a good counter and where you see Democrats are willing to go to town halls, listen to the constituents, while Republicans are afraid to go to town halls, listen to the constituents. Because quite frankly, when you look at what Republicans are trying to do, it's not like what they're trying to do is popular. There is no popular overall sense that we should cut taxes even more for corporations and wealthy people. There's no mandate for what they're trying to do with gutting the federal government, right? When you look at these things in opinion polls and when you look at them in the real world, none of what they're trying to do is particularly popular for the middle mainstream of America.